Hey, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show, coming to you every Monday, 6 a.m. UK time. Today we're doing something different. We're doing something that I've rarely done on the podcast, which is like revisiting an album, and it only happens, I think, when I really feel like I have some new thoughts to bring and to just like celebrate something that really has been replaying in my playlist quite a lot. And so today, as you can read from the title, I will be defending and re-celebrating, I guess, like, bringing a new perspective, I guess, a new form of appreciation to the Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. This album was released more than 2 years ago, actually. I think it was like the 19th of April 2024, something like that. So it's been a couple of years, and needless to say, this is one of the most, like, controversial Taylor Swift albums, and the one that got, like, a second appraisal. Very few albums of Taylor Swift get this treatment. I think if I really have to, like, think about it, I think it's mostly like 3 albums that really got this treatment, and like specifically I'm talking about Red, Reputation, and the Tortured Poets Department, which is having, like, I think a bit of a rediscovery at the moment, and I think partially I think it's wanted in a way. Like, the album was not released in a way, I guess, like as an album that could have been appreciated when it was released. Part of it is because, like, I think it was released too close to the other album that came before it, which was a smash hit, which was Midnight's one album of the year at the Grammys, and yada yada yada. And like literally, like, shortly after, like a year or so after, she released this. And this was also in the context of the re-recordings coming out pretty frequently, and the Eras Tour happening, and this happening, like, in the junction between the American and the European leg of the tour. So I think that this album wasn't positioned to breathe properly, to, like, be discovered properly, because there was so much happening already. There were so many other things happening within the fandom and outside of the fandom, and just in general, like, Taylor Swift's fame in those years specifically, which seems crazy to think about it in the past, because it literally happened a couple of years ago, but it is already quite a long time ago, I guess. But that was peak Taylor Swift era. Like, the Eras Tour was just a juggernaut. Like, it was just really going for it. So so I think that the album wasn't positioned to actually be fully appreciated by everyone and by many, because there were so many other, there was so much out, like, the distractions were coming from every possible corner, like, re-recording has been released, and then the Eras Tour as well happening, and then also, of course, the her private life, her dating choices and everything else. It was just like a whirlwind of media attention that was just, like, misplaced. And I think what else also really positioned the album very poorly was the announcement of the album that was done at the Grammys, I believe, and people did not take it well. I mean, it was, again, Taylor Swift was enjoying, like, a wave of positivity like she's never probably, like, ever experienced before with the Eras Tour. And then, because there was so much attention building up and amassing, and she was in the spotlight constantly, I think the attention span of people, like, like, of general public, like everyone in general, also people who are not exactly fans of Taylor Swift, I think got saturated, and then people started, like, we're looking for a reason to snap back. And for them, her announcing the album at the Grammys was sort of like entitled move. They saw it as that, and, like, as a way to detract attention from other people who were getting like, I guess, decorated at the Grammys, including herself. Like, that's literally the night that she won so many Grammys too. But anyways, all this to say that Taylor was in a very hyper productive space as always, like, it seems like that's the case since, I would argue since like Folklore and Evermore, that she's been in a 6 year run of like very productive space, like, between re-recordings, original albums, the tour, documentaries, and all these things. Like, she's just been on a roll, and I think that was the tipping point. Like, after that, even despite like, releasing the Life of a Showgirl, which was also, I think, another major tipping point, those two albums probably have proven to her that now she needs to, like, step back a little bit, and that's what she's done. I think, despite it feels a bit different because despite her being seen pretty much everywhere because of her wedding and everything else, it also seems like in a way that she's like away from music, which is what really I think people want at the moment, to just like for her to take a little break, which is good. But yeah, so the album unfortunately wasn't really placed in position to like be appreciated as much as it could have, overshadowed by many different things, as I said. And I think what really also did not help is the fact that this album is quite long. Like, it's technically supposed to be a double album the way she talked about it, but it has so many tracks, so many things on it, like literally 31 songs. It's a juggernaut. Like, it's a behemoth, basically. It's like a massive album, the longest album, and I think it felt very daunting to have all these songs put out at once. I remember feeling so lost when it first came out, because realistically, it's double-edged sword, because when you have so many songs, you are bound to find some very good ones, but also on the other hand, you will also, whenever you find those tracks that you like, you're less likely to explore the album there and then, or like in the near future, because there are so many tracks, and so because you're very fond of ones that you really like, you're just gonna like discount the others. So this is an album that really took time, even for me, to like really fully comprehensively appreciate. And yeah, I guess like you could say so many things about it. Like, it could have been released in a different way. It could have been done like as a deluxe version, or like if you were the double album to have been released, the first half to have been released like, on the day, and then like later on, like half a year later or a couple of months later, the second part could have been released. Many different things, but this is what also happens in a way when now her career is like so centralized. Like, everything is basically like commanded by her, and has very good and very bad results, I would say. And there's like a general critique that I have of Taylor Swift at the moment, coming from a very good and like positive fan, is that when on the one hand, it's great that she has so much control over her artistry and everything else, and her output and everything that comes with it. But I think at the same time, it's like, because she has no boundaries, she is bound to make way more mistakes because there's less people challenging her. And so I think, I'm not saying that she needs to be challenged more, because like she's a seasoned artist at this point, but I think when it comes to actual like marketing and release strategies, there's less of a pushback because of that. And so that could yield very good results, like Folklore, like Evermore, like even the Torture Poets department in that sense. But it could also deal some clunkers, like the Life of a Showgirl, which is, I still argue that it's not as bad as many people claim it to be. But also I think as I said in my review of the album when I first made it, it's still sort of the same opinion that I have. It's not as bad, but it's also not that good. Some people are really out here like trying to say like that Life of a Showgirl is the most innovative album. I was like, no, it's not. It's a fun album though. That's just the basic of it, So yeah, I am here then to like appreciate the album, the Torture Poets department, like almost well after 2 years. So yeah, like I'm not gonna go through all 31 tracks because it's an impossible task, and this episode would turn out to be like super long. But I do want to go overall around like the main themes that I think are in this album, and what I think is the main difference between like the two parts, like the standard edition and the anthology version, and also one of my favorite tracks. I think I will talk a bit about like my favorite tracks as well. But yes, just time to like really get into that Torture Boys department. I want to walk into the department with you guys, and hopefully we can walk out of it with a greater appreciation for the album, because it's been a long journey, and I do think this is at the moment one of my favorite albums by Taylor Swift ever. So it's a lot to say, but it is true. It is true. There's a great thing about this album, which is basically like Taylor Swift, because she's so unconfined with her career. This is one of the rarest albums you could ever get as a fan. Like, it's such a big referential album, but also limitless when it comes to like writing style. Like, this is like Taylor Swift at her apex, in terms of writing, like actually unconfined, unfiltered writing. And I think you can only appreciate that. I think you can only like clap and cheer, because many people love to like make fun of the album for some like clunky lyrics. I don't think actually there is any bad writing in this, and I think actually it's quite a innovative. I'm not simply talking about like like ingeniousness of the writing. I think also in general is the styling of writing, which is so new for her. It marks such a like different chapter for her. Like, this is like something that she pioneered with like folklore and Evermore. This like sort of elusive writing and interpretative writing, and I think this is like boundless. Like, it's just like so. It's his final boss, basically. It's the final version of it. So that's something that I first struggled with, to be honest with you. But then I think I came around and think of it as a strength now, actually, of the album. I think it is like something that is so unique about it and so rare. I don't think we will ever get an album like this from her ever again. So I think this will go down in history as her most unfiltered album ever, like even more so than Red. And there's a lot to say about that as well. Like, this is sort of what Red was for us in 2012. That's literally like, it has so many overlapping themes in a way, but it's also at the same time so unique, because this is like a true situationship story for my girl. Like, she at a grown-ass age, she finally had a real situationship, but it's not. But on the other hand, it's like not that simple as well, because while it was a very shortly lived romance, it was something that had been brewing for 10 years or so. Like, it's actually mental if you think about it. It's actually something 10 years, something so ridiculous. And of course I'm talking about the romance, the very brief romance that she had with Maddie Healy from the 1975 band. This, if you know anything about it, it's just like, they've been circling each other like for years, ever since the 1999 era. Like, they've been in each other's phones, and they've talked about each other on interviews. He's been specifically the one constantly baiting her and giving her nibbles in interviews, and her, for the longest part, as far as we know, has ignored him. Or did she? Because this is also another great thing about this album, is that usually this is how it works, and whenever a new Taylor Swift album comes out, you'll know it's a good album because it recontextualizes all the previous albums as well. And here specifically, you get a bit of a recontextualization about Midnight, about Folklore, about Evermore, a little bit of 1989, even though this was written before the romance happened, but like, the bold tracks and everything else, like how she behaves with like all these songs. There's just like a lot of interesting stuff happening there. And that's how that's the hallmark of a great Taylor Swift album, because if it manages to like flip perspective on previous albums and clarify and further deepen the knowledge of Taylor Swift as a character, I guess, in her musical world, then this is a good album. And this is exactly what this album does. It literally opens up so many other questions and clarifies so many other things and questions and many other things, timelines and everything else. So so I think, to go about like in general themes and like what the album is trying to say, or like what it is inspired by, I guess, in a way. I think this album is like, it could be seen as a double themed album. I think she contends on the one hand with the end of this, like starting at the end, like she's reckoning basically with this situationship that happened over like a period of time during her summer, and while that is happening, she is also contending with fame, and for the first time she gets even more meta than usual. I mean, we got a glimpse of that with, like, 1989, like Blank Space and all these things, and also in other albums and in Midnight and all that. But in this, there's sort of like this like dual perspective, which, to be honest, is very much interlinked, because part of it is basically her being hyper aware of her fame because of how much her dating choice, so like date Maddie Healy, was so talked about and so all over the place. So I do think that you could sort of like connect, especially in the standard edition. Like, so many tracks can be like put into two camps basically. Like Fortnite is definitely about the the shortly-lived relationship, basically. Torture Poison Barman, again, it's about that. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. Yep, Down Bad, same. So Long London is probably one of the few tracks that is actually so specific about, who it could be about. For the longest time, I actually thought it was Joe, but I think also the beauty about this album is that it could be about both. It could be about either. It could be because like she experienced sort of like the end product of both of these, like the relationship with Joe Alwyn being 6 years or whatever, and with Maddie Healy being just like a couple of months, is that they both ended up with her being promised marriage and being denied that for both of these men's inability to step up. And so that's very funny. Then we have But Daddy I Love Him, which I think also has a lot of meta commentary there. And then Fresh Out of Slammer, which is, I think, more on the like the romance part. Florida, I think that's like a bit on both ends in a way. Guilty as Sin, I think, is contending with, it is definitely technically on the romance side, but it's also, technically contending with this idea that was spiraling around the internet about her being possibly cheating on Joe with this guy, with Maddie Healy. So yeah, Who's Afraid of Little Me, very meta commentary on her fame. I Can Fix Him Every Day I Can, that's like definitely about the romance, loss of my life as well. I Can Do With a Broken Heart, very meta as well. Clara Bow, very meta. The Small Man Who Ever Lived and The Alchemy, both about the romance. The Alchemy, yeah, interesting stuff. So yeah, I think that's the very interesting part about this album, is that while technically like she is quite self-referential and she does talk in a meta way about her fame, I think this brought me back to like the 1989 days where like she was actually actively poking fun and like making fun of the media and the fans, the people were criticizing her dating choices and getting so entitled about who she should or who she should not date and all that. And I mean, one of the biggest outtakes from this album is definitely But Daddy I Love Him, which is basically like love story, like modern version, I guess, like reworked. And this is like why I said, like, also at the beginning, that this is like the biggest gift to the Swifties as well, and like such an interesting album, because there are so many links with so many different albums. Already talked about like Fearless and 1989 and Red and all these other albums and Midnight and all that. Like, there's so many links to all the previous works that she's done, which is so fruitful and so delicious, basically, as a fan, to like be able to pick up on these threads. But yeah, But Daddy I Love Him is like sort of her big FU moment to all these people who were sort of talking crap about her and her dating life and everything else. So, like, it's so good to see her breaking the fourth wall so many times in this song, and also in other songs like, Who's Afraid of Little Me and all this stuff, because it's rare. Like Taylor, I think likes to be agreeable and likes to be sort of not putting herself in a bad position with, specifically with like the news newspapers and newspapers, like the social media platforms and everything else, and like the fans and all that. But I think this was such a needed track from her because she needed to reclaim her agency and like her choices, and also sort of reclaim her private life, because I mean, part of the bargain that she had to like put, like she had to abide by, I guess, because of the way her lore works, is that her dating life is going to be heavily scrutinized. But also this doesn't mean that people get to tell her who she should break up with, or like when she should break up with someone, or all that, you know what I mean? So this was definitely like a big change of pace, and a big FU moment to all these people. Yeah, so that's this is such an interesting part of the experience, I guess, like of the album. It's that, and it's Clarabo as well. Like Clarabo has some of her best writing ever, man. Like actually so good, when she references all these like also very famous women in music and not like in the spotlight and everything else. I like this one, like where he said, like, the crown is stained, but you're the real queen, flesh and blood amongst war machines. You're the new god we're worshipping, promised to be dazzling. So good. Like, some of the writing here is just like insane, man. Beauty is a beast that roars down of all fours, demanding more. Only when your girlish glow flickers just so, to let you know it's hell on earth to be heavenly. It's so good. Like, it's just amazing. So yeah, I really like whenever Taylor Swift like breaks the fourth wall, and it's so like the very famous line, but I love it, like in the chorus, like I'm having his babies, no I'm not, but you should see your faces. Like, it's just the first time I literally heard that, I was like, damn, gagged. She just gagged me so much. That's probably my favorite song on the album, by the way. I know it's a long song, but who cares? It's just so well composed, so catchy, so melodically satisfying, but also so gaggy. Like, it's just like, this is what I say, like, she's on a whole different, no one could have written a song like this. I'm sorry, like, no one has ever written a song like this. No one could ever write a song like that. I've never seen anyone do that, and like do it so successfully, and be so, and I think that being so aware of like what's being said about you, and also owning it and putting it down on a song, is just so clever, because it immediately loses meaning for everyone else who's waging these wars. Like, if she actually acknowledges and she owns it and she addresses it, it's done. Like, she has a song about it. Like, it's over. It's over. So that's definitely one of the interesting sides of the album. I think, again, like the romance is also very, very interesting, and probably the most relatable part of the album instead. Like, this is where like her writing gets so confessional that it's actually commendable that she talked about so much on this album. Like, she let out so many things. Like some really standout tracks from the standard version are definitely like Down Bad. Like the way she like uses this metaphor of like alien abduction to like talk about this situation, and how brief it was, and how she was sort of like abducted basically by this man, and then left, like brought to this like very crazy place, which is space, but like technically like basically an outer world that is just so mesmerizing and confusing, but also a place you would never want to get away from, and then just be stranded again in the on Earth, like just like back to your normal life. The way she goes like down bad crying at the gym, like is so smart. Such a smart song. It's just a smart metaphor for it. Just again, incredible, clever writing. It's just so good. And then another really great song that I really do like about this album is from this album is of course, Guilty as Sin. Guilty as Sin is just unique in terms of sonics as well. all these songs have some form of kind of like, I mean, Culture Boys Environment is definitely like a good way of putting this album, but it's, I think, also some form of like hazy album, like a very like regretful and hazy sort of like, actually it's very well positioned because it sort of expresses what she felt in this whole time, like massive confusion and massive sort of loss, a massive loss in her in her timeline, basically, because she just doesn't realize how this could have even happened in the first place, and then it happened so quickly, and it was so bright and so intense that and it just as fast, it just went away just as fast. So you do definitely feel that in the production as well. It's such a like fever dream, basically, this whole thing, this whole experience. So, and that's how she felt also dating this man. Like, she was promised so many things, and she was contemplating cheating on her man who would refuse, was refusing to like just actually commit to her 100%. And in Guilty as Sin, she explores this very interesting idea of is it cheating if I'm thinking about someone else when I'm with a man that I have been in a relationship with for like so long. And she was posing a question, and as she says as well, like sometimes the question is better than the actual answer itself, because once you find out the answer, you might be very much let down. And unfortunately, the answer for her was pretty damaging, if I have to be honest. Like, no, it was no one's business, of course, to like go and seek out this man. She did it because she felt like she was not valued enough by her current relationship, and that's why she was started like reminiscing about this man who she has had like several flirtatious moments with, and so she was sort of like, I guess, imagining it and idealizing that relationship that never happened. And so when she tried to find out the truth about it and lived through it for a few months and then was left like that, she just realized that it was just not worth it. So yeah, I mean, nothing good comes out of like a man like that, to be honest, because oh my god, like the biggest track ever explaining this is Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. That's literally like the magnum opus, basically, when it comes to this side of the album, because even though that's in the anthology, that literally explains the entire crux of the issue with this man. Like, the whole curiosity was animated basically by this question that she had of whether this man still liked her, and whether and after he left her, like whether he liked her better the way she was when they first met, or whether it was something else that turned him off possibly, or whether he was just like reconciling with the idea that she's changed so much and she's not the person that he likes that they liked at the beginning. So it's so interesting, and it's such a novel way of writing a song. Like, you just like fall in love with me back in 2014 or whatever, in that specific version of myself that I'm no longer, or did you find something else about me that you didn't like, or what is the actual, her wondering, basically. Like, she was left also without an answer, basically. She was left reeling after he just left her like that, after promising all these things, and then chickening out and just going away AWOL, being ghosted. Yeah, so dare I say, Maddie Healy, you deserve jail, because how like, there are also several instances in this Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, or other tracks in this album, that really get to the point of like how he sometimes felt like emasculated, or like not up to matching her fame, and he felt like dwarfed basically by her fame. But also, sorry sir, like, you are the one who kept on like teasing her and like giving her all these hints that you wanted to date her, all that stuff. Were you not aware of the fact that she's the Taylor Swift, like the biggest pop star of like in the world? I'm sorry, like, when you get into a situation like that, you have to be aware, and you have to take the responsibility that you're getting into a situation that is going to be dwarfing. It's just the way it is. Like, she is a behemoth, like she is the monster on the hill. So it's just, either you're up for the challenge or you're not, and you should not have trifled with her. And I mean, I guess also that's her open wound in a way. It's like, if your intention was just like, she says like in what song was it? This one's been Never Lived, I think it was. Like, if she said like, if your intention was to just like, rust my sparkling summer, like to just like affect my fun and like my peak moment in my career, then I wish you would have never tried, because that's what's the point, like, it's cruel to do that, to manipulate someone in that way, especially knowing how much also she craved that, the answer to that question, and to know the potential of that 10-year flirtatious encounters. So yeah, like, it's so interesting. It's such an interesting album, so vast, so interesting. Another song that I really like from the anthology is How Did It End? That's also such a cleverly written song, and it's put in like the different perspectives in the entire song. Like, she's like narrating the song from different perspectives. At times she's like narrating, like asking from the people's perspective, like asking each other, how did how did our relationship end, like everyone gathering and like asking all these questions, like they're all wondering, that. And then also it turns to herself, like, I don't even know how it ended, like I'm actually also questioning that. And it's so good to like get to that switch in that song, where she switched perspective from the people questioning her relationship to herself questioning it, and like asking herself, how did this very quick intense relationship end, like what happened there, who the fuck was that guy, as he says, like, so yeah. I mean, and it's also real in this album that she actually reveals so many things about not simply herself. I think that's where the anthology really shines. There's a lot of introspection there, more so unrelated necessarily to like him. It's more like her own psyche in a way, like a look through people's windows and all these things, like the manuscript and all of that, and the bolter. But it's also a lot of it's like also a big expose about this guy specifically, like Matty Healy, how he was such a weird man, like in terms of his addictions and his psychosis and his depressing moments, and how much of a difficult person he was to deal with, basically, and how she was still, despite it all, like putting up with it and trying her best to accommodate him. And that's frankly in a way embarrassing for her, but also condemned her so much to put herself out there like this much, to be so vulnerable and so open. Literally greatest songwriter of our whole generation. Like, she's just insane. So yeah, that's the album. My favorite songs, I would say, like overall in the album, I can give like a top 5 maybe. Number 1, definitely But I Love Him. Number 2, Chloe Summers, Sophia Marcus. Number 3, maybe How Did It End? Number 4, I would say Down Bad. Number 5, Guilty of Sin, 100%. So yeah, just incredible. So I would if you haven't listened to the album at all, in full or like in parts or whatever, if you only listen to some of the songs, I'd recommend listening to it. Maybe split it in 2 and listen to the first half that ends at Carabo, I think. Listen to that first by itself, and then listen to the anthology by itself, and just enjoy. You will thank me later, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this sort of like interesting episode that I made today. If you want to leave me your thoughts in the comments about what's your favorite song from the album, and what are your thoughts on the album overall after 2 years and more, and how do you position it in your Taylor Swift ranking of the albums as well. So yeah, word to the sponsor now, and then I'll give you some songs of the week. Alright, quickly before we get back to songs of the week, I want to give a quick shout out to a brand I think you love if you're trying to be more mindful about what you put in your body. If your hair has been feeling dry, dull, or just in need of a little extra care, check out Yarok Plant-Based Beauty. They make vegan plant-based hair care that's packed with organic ingredients and completely free from sulfates, parabens, and alcohol. So you're getting products that nourish your hair actually without all the harsh chemicals that you can find in like store-bought shampoos and other beauty products. And I also love that they're cruelty free and focus on clean beauties more than anything else. So it's one of those like brands that feels good to use while also being kinder to the planet as well. And the best part, I've got an exclusive deal for you. I have an exclusive code, as you may have heard before about this brand. This isn't the first time they support a podcast. So if you just used my code overshare pamphlet at checkout, you can get 15% off any Yarok product, and that's the highest discount they offer anywhere. You'll find a link in the show notes, and if you use my code, I do earn a small commission which helps support the podcast at no extra cost to you. So if you've been looking to upgrade your hair care routine with something a bit more natural, definitely give Yarok a look. Thank you again for sponsoring the episode. Right, so to end the episode, there are three songs that we want to talk about. You can find them in the playlist of the month, the Overshare Pamphlet Songs of the Week, July 2026. And the three songs that we want to talk about are, first off, Duet by Zico and Lilas. This is sort of like incredible mix between like J-pop and K-pop. Basically, there's a bit of like Jersey beat, but also a lot of J-pop in it, because Lilas is, I think, a Japanese artist and singer. Such a fun track, such a interesting combination of sounds. It definitely sounds like a J-pop song, to be honest, but also I think there's that interesting K-pop Jersey beat element that is very popular at the moment in K-pop. And then of course Zico is just a delight on any track. So really enjoy that. It's such a cute song, but like very energetic. I definitely like it. Very summery as well. So I definitely would recommend checking that out. Personally, really love it. Then I have a French song. Je voulais te dire que je t'attends. Oh, damn, I'm getting butchered here, but by Mathilde and Soleil Rouge. So that's a synthy track. I don't know much about Mathilde, to be honest. I think it's a new artist, or maybe she's an old artist. I don't know. Very fun. The song is so new. I think it's like this year's, like we released this year, yeah. But the song is like very synthy and very fun and very, also again very summery. I think there's like a Thor line here, but this is like, you know, proper synth pop. So fun. The chorus is so catchy. I definitely recommend that. It just puts you in a very good mood. I do love it. And then I want to talk about, lastly, DTLA by Kim Petras from her album Detour. That song just gags, slaps. It's incredible. Because, you know, I think I didn't give a proper shot to this album for whatever reason. I think I really sat down to listen to it before this round, and I really enjoyed the song. It's like pure hyperpop banger. DTLA stands of course for like downtown LA, and it's just about like her, you know, causing havoc in downtown LA, you know, just going out with you know, just going out and causing a ruckus, making a moment. Very good. Like, I think what really stands out here is just a very violent production, the very hyperpop violent production here. So abrasive and so good. And this is Kim as an independent artist making the songs that she likes and working with the producer that she loves, and this is like just an insane move, because I really like the album. I think it's a good statement as well, and this is just like such a good track to listen to get, you know, in the mood to like get out and just, you know, do your shit, feel good, you know. So yeah, I hope you guys listen to these songs. I think they're quite entertaining, quite good, and they're definitely a moment for the summer, you know. So get ready for that. And this is it for the episode, actually. So I'll see you next week. Enjoy your week, and catch you very soon.